Sorry, go for it.
Hey, everybody, it's Will, and I'm really, really excited today to have Micheál on the phone. He's out in the Bay Area, the peninsula, out around San Francisco, and owns 2 restaurants and another one coming here, opening soon. And he's been a great Schedule Fly customer for a long time, so it's really awesome to have a chance to catch up with him. So, Micheál, thanks for joining today.
Delighted. Thanks, Will.
So, take me back, man. Get me started with your story. I mean, I did, enough research to know a little bit of the background, but you started, looks like you were at a GM at another restaurant for a few years out there, and you started Jack's Prime in 2008. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, I came out for a summer vacation and hung out with a friend from university up in the Napa Valley, and ended up working for Joel Gott, the winemaker who also owns Gott's Roadside. It was Taylor's Refresher back then, and after a good summer there, they said, if you ever want to come back to kind of work in our San Francisco location, we've just opened in the Ferry Building, we have a job for you. So I came back and kind of applied for a visa and got it, and ended up running that spot in San Francisco for about 3 years, and then I branched out on my own.
So did you come up with the concept for Jack's Prime yourself, and did you start it yourself, or did you have partners or investors, or how did that work?
Well, like everybody, yourself, you have to take on some investors at the start. The concept was pretty much kind of set in my head, and we worked with some people on kind of fine tuning it. The friend I came out to visit at university, he's a chef background, and he's actually he's the COO with Elephant's Deli up in Portland, and we kind of put it together and got it open on a busy stretch, and we've been busy since we opened the door, thank God.
10 years later, so Jack's Prime Burgers and Shakes. So what do you guys do that's unique or different there that makes y'all special?
You just try to do everything with integrity and use good product and be a real spot, offer real hospitality, offer real food, and kind of be a real person for folks. And I kind of think that we've tried to engender that quality in our staff, and as a result, we've seen folks grow up. We've seen kids, starting at T-ball, and they're still coming back in 10 years later with their softball team. So I suppose, like anything, it's just try to do really good food and be a place that folks really feel at home,
Do you, how do you, I get that as an owner and as somebody who's developed this concept, and this is your baby, and of course you're going to handle your customers that way just like we do ours. How do you find those people that take that same philosophy and run with that, Micheál? I mean, that's a challenge. What you're saying makes a lot of sense to me, but then the execution of that isn't quite as easy as it may seem, I believe.
It's getting harder and harder. I'm not going to lie. We opened in 2008, and things were going south all over the economy, and it was a gamble to open, but we plowed on. I think we were lucky. We got a lot of good folks, and being in the restaurant a lot, I was able to kind of really engender that spirit in the culture. But as time's gone on, with opening the second restaurant, I've put a lot more time into that, and that as a result has, I've started to see the seams start to pull a bit, and with the economy, we're out here, like, there's 2% unemployment, to be honest with you. It's under 3%. So it is tough. The cost of living's going through the roof out here. And retaining staff, never mind making them proactively, buy in, it's a lot of work at the moment. I'm not going to lie. It's definitely, it's the biggest challenge in the Bay Area for sure.
Is that because unemployment's so low and so you have a supply and demand issue, or is it because the way that this next generation is raised? Are there less folks that have that genuine sense of hospitality that's more innate or natural, or that they want? What do you think is causing that?
Well, there's always, you don't want to sound like an old fogey, this generation doesn't know how to work. I don't think it's that, but we're living in an area where the cost of living and being an employee in a restaurant is such that most folks are stretched, or they are living at home with their parents. So you've got the split between folks that are working 2 jobs, maybe 3. You're doing your best to pay as well as you can, and still offer those guys something that they can be proud of and something that they can work toward. But the landlords and the others are not pulling that way at all, because we're surrounded by high income paying jobs, the tech. Folks even who are in our industry can go and work for a company like Sodexo or Bon Appetit that cater to the big tech firms, and they could offer $2 or $3 more, $4 more per hour. So you've got that inflationary pressure all over. So that's kind of stressing folks, I think. And then in terms of like the work ethic and that, there's no point dressing it up. We're seeing a lot of pressure from not having new blood coming into our market. You used to be able to replenish your kitchen staff a lot easier than you can now, because the flow's just not there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's an honest answer right there.
No, it's a great answer. I mean, it's just the reality of the situation. So then you opened Maverick Jacks, your other concept, in 2016. What's different about Maverick Jacks?
Primarily, it's been able to get out and go 100% by myself. Not having the investors, not having to deal with folks who don't live in our world, having an influence on what's going on with the business. So that's the primary difference from my point of view. The menu offering, the style, the culture that we have in the business is the same, and that's my aim to try and grow that brand since it's all me.
So take me back then. So you early on when you started Jack's Prime, you got investors. How did you find investors, and what types of things were you looking for, and what did you learn from that you would say maybe advice you'd pass along to somebody else that may be out, in those early days looking for investors themselves?
Well, when you're looking for investors and you're looking to get going, you typically struggle to see past the end of your nose. So you tend to be dealing with people who are pretty savvy in business, and you tend to be going in green, even with a university degree in business management and all those, like years built up as an experience working in the industry. And you're prepared on an operational level to deal with anything, but the intricacies of business and more long-term vision can be hard on that first deal. So you tend not to think about the out clause, as they say in business, the exit strategy, which your typically your investors will have thought of. So that's something that I think anybody who's looking to take investors on should be kind of aware of, and maybe take some advice on if they have an outlet to kind of reach out to other people in the industry. Because not having, let's say for example, a buyout clause, said after a certain amount of time can mean that you're married to folks for a long time, that you really, that gets old after a certain point, so that's probably the most the biggest thing I've learned.
So a buyout clause, meaning that at some point in time you're able to purchase their equity, or did you structure it? Is it debt or equity or a mix, or how did you do that?
So it's primarily the first. It's setting yourself up that you at some point
can buy them out, or at least you have the option to. So that way, at least you know that things might go swimmingly, and you don't ever choose to exercise that option. But having that option in there will be able to say to the people that you're investing with that this is a business transaction. We're not getting married at the hip here. And B, it's also signaling that you don't. It's not showing that you're not being 100% honest. It's just that you're being aware that it's a business arrangement, and if it comes a time where you need to separate, that you kind of have that organized in your favor.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Do you are there specific types of investors that you think are important? I mean, because you are getting into a long-term relationship, and I'm going to imagine when you're trying to get something started, it's easy to just take the money possibly before you do a full, thoughtful due diligence about the type of person you want on your team.
So that definitely that came into play as I was looking to kind of branch out and do Maverick Jacks, and I met with a couple of folks who were looking to invest and could see the potential, because obviously I had done really well with the first restaurant, and they saw that if I was going to open a second in the same vein, there was a high probability of success. And I met with these guys, and to be honest with you, as I kind of went through the process of talking to them and explaining the vision, the financials, and what have you, I quickly realized that their values weren't aligned with mine, and how I look at employees and my customer base, as opposed to how they looked at it. I was just like, this isn't a fit. This just doesn't fit for me. And I, thankfully, with having gone through the experience of running businesses for 5 or 6 years, I was able to kind of back myself and say, you know what? Nah, these guys aren't right. Thanks so much. It's been good talking to you, but I don't think so. And that is something that I feel has stood to me. So it's meant that I've made decisions that have been better for me, as opposed to just thinking about the dollars.
Gotcha. Okay, makes a lot of sense. So you got the second one. So you got Maverick Jacks in 2016, and then here you are in a few months, if I'm not mistaken, opening the second of those.
Yep.
How's it going?
It's going well. As restaurateurs will get this, that when you run a restaurant, it's not just about getting the food together and getting the daily operations together. When you're putting a restaurant together, you become part architect, part builder, part HVAC specialist, part bank clerk. You learn so much, and there is so much to it, to make sure that you're insured correctly, that you've got your ducks in a row, that you get your funding correctly, dealing with trades and stuff like that. It's a different world to what you're normally used to dealing with, and you learn a lot. So you never stop learning in the building game, I think, because it moves so quickly, and very rewarding at the end of it, but going through it there's plenty of work in it. So you don't get a lot of sleep when you're doing it.
No, I bet you don't. You're learning all those one thing that made me think of is there's a restaurant I go to often for breakfast, and they have their AC broke recently, and it's been pretty hot here, and they said that I guess their lease doesn't accommodate that, so they're having to. It happened before too, and they've been having to kind of piece together, parts and get it fixed, and they keep having these issues with it. And so they said, but it's like $20,000 to replace this thing. It's not part of our lease. It was a big goof up in the lease negotiation. Those types of things can almost bring you down, I would imagine, if you're not really savvy with understanding how to negotiate the right kind of lease and so forth. Although, do you own your buildings or have you leased?
So we're lease on all our buildings right now, primarily because the cost of real estate out here is really tough. The thing that you have to jive with in the restaurant business is that you can have a tremendous cash flow and really solid customer base, and you take that to a big bank, and they look at it and they just don't see equity, and therefore they shut you down. So they'll offer you like a line of credit, which will kind of be bugger all. So then you have to go to community banks, and then at least you can kind of talk to people and figure out how can we make this work. So that's the first thing that you kind of have to encounter, is that a lot of the bigger banks aren't going to deal with you. So they may have great advertising showing chefs, chefs working on their program and like we loan to restaurants, but they really don't. And then for your lease negotiations, if as is the case out here, everything's in such high demand, well, the landlord has a lot of strength in the negotiation process. So you need to really employ a lawyer that's going to fight hard for you and know that game. So you want to really get a specialist who's able to negotiate with that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, those things, those are critical for sure. Do you, and I guess that varies in different markets. When your real estate's so high, it's not worth it. I know some owners that really like to own, but that's when the price.
Don't get me wrong. I'd love to.
Yeah, I'm
so.
sure you would. Yeah, exactly.
Next one we probably will, but at the moment it's just it's a long lease process is what you kind of try to hit for, at least, so you'll be able to get your return on investment.
Have you walked away from places that you like, locations you like, where you just didn't feel like the lease opportunity would be favorable, or they didn't want to work, with you as a partner?
Yeah, you gotta be prepared to walk away.
Yeah,
just because they will have no problem in
taking you to the cleaners. So you have to be prepared to walk away from them,
Micheál, what do you like the most about what you do in the restaurant business? Why are you doing this?
I love making people happy. I genuinely enjoy the business. I enjoy the speed of it. I enjoy the look on people's faces, and they come in hangry and they kind of leave, and happy and smiley. It's kind of one of those weird things. I think you kind of need to be a pleaser on some level. That's just part of your personality to make you enjoy it. You can do it for the money, or you can do it. It's a tough business to make money, so there has to be more to it than that, I think. And that's the main thing for me. I really enjoy the business. I enjoy the people. I enjoy the speed of it, and that's it. It's a kind of fit for my personality, I think.
Tell me about being an independent owner versus you have chains that have economies of scale and lots of resources and so forth, but have more of a sort of a template approach. And you talked earlier about genuine hospitality and being real people. What do you think the advantages that independent restaurants have that while you can't compete with larger organizations on resources, you have things that they can't compete with you on? What do you think those things primarily are?
The thing about the independent is that there is a connection that can be made with not only your customers but with your purveyors and with your staff. There's not a distant entity that's calling the shots. So
Mm-hmm.
that means that you can deal with your staff on a human level. You can reason with your suppliers and take into account what's been transacted over years, instead of going, nope, you haven't met the price on that, you're gone. So the advantage we have is that we actually get to feel the enjoyment of transacting business with people that we care about and that we respect, and we also get to tell them when they're out of order, and that we will, as a business, we're prepared to walk away
if you don't change, as opposed to just saying no, you haven't met it, and just leaving. And so I think our suppliers prefer they enjoy that. Like even our biggest supplier, their main competitor out here is probably Cisco and US Foods, but they're still family owned, and they're a big company. You know, they probably do 300, 400 million a year, but I can still pick up the phone and call the boss.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, they specialize almost in independence as well, because they have that relationship. And I've always tried to kind of model how I interact in business with a lot of those types of folks that we've done business with.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you've built a really interesting business too, because now with your third, and good luck with the opening, and we'll assume that all goes well. You've now got, I would imagine, or does that help you have a better story to tell for those people? We talked earlier about finding these people and how hard it is to find good people, but do you have more opportunities now that you've got several locations for people to grow within your business and grow with you, and as the business grows, does that give them more career longevity type opportunities that you're able to pitch as you look for good people and try to keep them?
Yeah, it definitely helps with being able to say to folks, this is something that you can make a career of and you can be proud of. When we it's having that kind of longevity that's helping us. Like the new general manager of the new space is going to be somebody who is an assistant manager here at Jack's Prime. So we're giving that promotion opportunity, and we're giving that 2 people are going to be promoted. She's going to go on to the next job. There's someone going to fill that place, and then we're starting to think more about career paths. In the first couple of years, or when you've got a single store, or even the secondary store, you're kind of pulling yourself a good amount of the way, and kind of relying on people to kind of fill in. Whereas with this third one, I've had to start thinking more about, wait a minute here, I need to give career paths. I need to kind of keep these opportunities coming, and my role is going to have to change, because I no longer can be that hands-on guy that I was. I've got to be the guy that's delegating and kind of making sure that other folks are doing what we need to get done. So it is actually very helpful. But like everything, when you're in a business like ours, you've got folks that are transient in many respects, in terms of like they're willing to move. They're kind of, their situation can be such that people will move a lot. So yeah, having that time in the bank has helped us a lot, I think.
Absolutely. What's the biggest challenge you've got right now to getting the next one open? I know there's probably a dozen of them or 2 dozen, but what do you? I mean, there's always seems to be delays and things like that. Like what are you working on right now that you're having to deal with? I like to ask about this because I think a lot of people think that they want to open a restaurant, and sometimes they don't really fully understand all that goes into it, and don't realize that until it's a little late.
It's always that crazy. Well, we're in a business where people think there are certain things that they like and think, oh, well, I'll open that business in it. And I always think that's a huge contributor to why there's so many failures in restaurants, is because people haven't served their time.
Yeah.
In terms of understanding what the business is. So then there's almost like a shock of like, oh my God, I didn't realize this would happen. And even when you're seasoned, there's still stuff happens all the time, and you're like, where did that come out of? So the biggest challenge, I think, for that's on my horizon is definitely staffing it. It's going to be finding enough people to get it open, and then going through that initial turnover and that burn rate, and bedding in. That's really, because, as I said to you at the start of the interview, it's incredible how competitive the employment market is out here. So much so that we're with this next iteration of the business, we're going to go to fast casual and kind of, as opposed to a full service, because A, the economics of it, and B,
difficulty in finding folks that are willing to kind of stay in the serving part of the restaurant business, especially at the price point, you know, that we charge. So we're actually making that call now on this one, our third one, which is kind of a little. It's made with a little trepidation, but it's one that I feel has to be made, you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, listen, man, I know that you've got a lot going on, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, especially with an opening coming up like that, 'cause I know it's a million balls to juggle. But this is really helpful, and I just really appreciate your time. We, of course, appreciate your business a lot, and just love hearing your story, man, and we just love serving folks that are doing what you're doing, man. I'm always just in awe of and inspired by people that have been successful building independent restaurants. It's a tough business, but it's a rewarding business, and you clearly have a passion for it, man, so thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Will. It is, as I said, it's good having a business like yours, a technology business, but is also it's focused. The fact that you guys actually still continue to put out blogs about the business, it kind of speaks the language of actually what you do and you care about your business, as opposed to the jargony type promo stuff that a lot of businesses do with that just seems to be just cannon fodder, I suppose, in terms of like the content they're putting out. At least you guys are talking to real people and trying to get feedback that will improve your business, and it's inspiring, because, you know, when we read your blogs and we kind of get to know that we're not the only ones that are in the situation that we're in, and trying to make a buck and trying to build a family and a business and be proud of all of them, you know.
Well, you know, man, I got to be honest, we're so incredibly honored to have the opportunity to do this, and I'm real thankful that we don't do a lot of the traditional sort of advertising and marketing and sales that would prevent me from having the time to do this stuff, because I love it. I truly do, and you know, and it's good to know that other people are in the same boat, and so many people listen to interviews like yours, and it inspires them, and it helps them remember that, you know, they're not alone. They're facing the challenges they think are so hard are you know, ones that other people are too, and it helps them know they can do it. So, man, I appreciate it a lot. I really do, and I thank you for the time, and wish you guys the best with the opening and all three of the locations going forward, man. I really hope you guys do real well.
Many thanks, Will. You have a good afternoon. Appreciate it.
All right, Micheál. Take care.
All right. Bye now.
All right. Thanks, Bob.